Candid Conversations, where today's topic is on pain into purpose. This is a subject that every single person on this earth can relate to in some shape, form, or fashion. And on today, it brings me great joy to have a special guest that is so near and dear to my heart and even my womb. And today, I just want to uplift the importance of not just focusing on any levels of pain that you may be currently in or that you may have faced or went through in your prior years or even in your childhood. I want you to know that no matter what pain you have experienced inside of your life, whether it has been spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, or even financially, that you can turn your pain into purpose. And today we're going to hear a live story of how this young woman was able to do just that, even at a short and an early age in life. And I'm telling you, it doesn't matter what age or stage you are in your life, it is not too late for you to be great. It is not too late for you to turn your pain into purpose. It is a known fact that women in general are mistakenly known to be able to have higher tolerances than men. And so therefore, more pain is dumped on women. More pain is inflicted on women. Women feel like they have to have the ability to take on high insurmountable amounts of pain and to be able to deal with it, to be able to live with it, to be able to just survive from it. But I'm here to tell you today that you were not created to be someone's dumpster can where they can just give you all of their hurt, all of their pain, and you're supposed to just bear the brunt of it. I'm here to tell you today that you can turn your pain into your power, into productivity, and into your purpose. So let's get right into our special interview on today. Well, it brings me great joy, like I said, to have you on today. This is our special guest, Maria Faith Blue, who, like I said, is so near and dear to my heart and my womb. Why? Because I had the privilege and the honor to give birth unto her and to be able to allow her to come into this place that we know as the earthly arena for her to fulfill her purpose and assignment. In and through her journey and her life, she has experienced so many things that most people would, as your father like to say, snap, crackle, and pop. But even at a young age and still being young, she has always found a way to be resilient and to never allow what she was experiencing to stop, block, or hinder her from living life or maximizing or making the best out of life. So we're going to get right into it, and I want you to be encouraged and inspired to know that you can turn your pain into purpose. Well, Maria Faith, again, it's such a joy and a pleasure to have you here. It just really brings my heart such joy to be able to sit here with my very own child and interview them in such a position that most people don't even get to their well in their 30s or their 40s, 50s, and even later on in life. But here you are, literally on today, your B-Day. Come on, wherever you at, can you just give it up for Maria? I want to say happy birthday to you. And why is this so important? And why do we even do this on your birthday? Because this birthday wasn't necessarily even promised unto you. So the mere fact that you were able to sit here on your 19th birthday and tell your story of pain into purpose to many of people who are listening, to allow them to know that they can get up, they can go forth in the direction that God has predestined for them to go inside of. And we like to call it your place of better, your life of better. And so I'm just so grateful and thankful to have that dual honor to, one, interview you, to number two, be here on your birthday, and then also on your birthday and you're here in good health. And that's going to make more sense to you as we go on and unfold and unpack Maria's journey of pain into purpose and the significance of what today means of her sitting here and being with us in this format and not literally inside of a hospital or inside of her inside of a hospital bed, not understanding or not knowing what tomorrow's going to hold for the future of her health. But she's here to tell her story for God's glory. So the first question I want to ask you, Maria, you are officially 19 years old. You are now considered a young adult, you know, of course, when you turn 18. So how does it feel turning another year older?
Honestly, still feel the same as I did last year. But I would say that the last few years have really showed me that life isn't promised. And that's when I decided that I'm going to change. I'm going to turn my pain into purpose. And that's when I decided that this the next few years will be different.
Well, I'm so glad that you have that mindset and that reality, because one thing that we should have learned from 2020 that has hit us so hard and that may have shook the very core of people's lifestyle, their way of thinking, their methods of operation, that yes, we may have known it, but many of us took for granted this thing called life. But it has shown us that no one is exempt from going through measures of change inside of their lives. And tomorrow is not promised, and we do have to maximize and make the best of life. And I'm just grateful that you've learned that early on in life, because that is a powerful foundation to build upon. Because when you have that as a core value inside of your life, you will not utilize time focusing on what didn't happen, what didn't go right, what you didn't accomplish, what failures and mistakes of the past may have seemed like it has been a limitation. But I'm here to tell you, if you maximize the moment with the greatest thing that you have, and that's the present, that's why it's a gift, then you will have a great future. Well, talking about a future, and yours looks very bright for you, considering everything that you have gone through and that you have experienced and that you have overcome. And so with that, we're going to go back to the past to give the audience just an overview of some of the triumphs and obstacles you had to overcome, and that you did it with such grace and such resilience that, even me being your mother at times were in awe of how you were able to sustain in such difficult times. Because one thing that we all know about pain can change the way that you operate. It can change the way that you interact with other people. It can make you angry. It can make you grouchy. It can make you, unsociable. It can change the whole demeanor of your being. And so I want to allow you all to see and hear her story, even from birth, that led up to this place of us being able to celebrate her from going or turning her pain into her purpose. So with that being said, let's just do an overview of your life, because you've experienced so much in 18 short years of life. So from that, we know that you started off, you were born and they declared that you had eczema, you had severe food and environmental allergies, all the way up to chronic migraines, photosensitivity, severe photosensitivity to ultraviolet rays, the sunlight, then leading up to lupus, SLE, and then lupus nephritis, which it affects the kidneys, muscular weakness, gallstones, to say the least, and too many more things to name. That's a whole lot of infliction and a whole lot of physical pain to endure in such a short period and span of life. It almost seems like it just wouldn't let up. It just seems like when one thing seemed to come under par, then something else erupted or arose inside of your life. So can you tell everyone who's listening today how you were able to endure this long period of various ailments inside of your body?
I would say my answer would definitely have to be God. If it wasn't for my faith and knowing the word and reading healing scriptures and using powerful affirmations on healing, then I don't know how I would have made it through everything that I have.
I want you to pay close attention to the things that she said out of her mouth, because this is going to inspire, this is going to bless someone, this is going to touch and change the way that you've been looking at things. There is a statement that says it's when you change the way that you look at things, that's only when things that you look at will begin to change. She not only had faith, but she is faith. Her middle name is Faith. So therefore, she tapped into the ability of her identity in and through the power of faith that was a part of her ID, her identity, her birthright. And what I want you to pay close attention to is, even though we haven't got deep into the fullness of how you're able to implement this in your life, it's the fact that you make this a core foundation of your life, that you were not focusing on how am I going to do this, but you tapped into the one who already had the solution to the problem. And that's something that I want to encourage you all today who are listening. Many of you have been nursing and rehearsing and pressing the rewind button on what's not working and how are you going to get through and how are you going to make it. I'm here to tell you that God works the best in your weakness. He is made strong where you are weak. And many of you have been taking on the identification and the title of I am strong. Well, I'm here to tell you, God didn't create for you to be strong. He created for you to be powerful in and through the power of his super on your natural. But if you are trying to carry out the super inside of the natural, leading the super, you're going to miss God in the fullness of what he wants to do inside of your life. And that's for you to operate in your purpose. That's for you to operate in his power. And so I want you to understand the power of what she's saying today, because if she didn't implement these things inside of her life, she wouldn't be sitting here today in this state of being to be able to tell her story of how she made it over. So we cannot do these things in our own power. I want to free somebody up today, because many of you, this has been passed down in your generational lineage. You felt like my mom, my grandmother, my whole lineage, they had to be strong. They had to carry the family. They had to take on everybody's problem. They had to be the problem solver. They had to be the mother, the lawyer, the doctor. You know, they had to be all in one. But I'm here to let you know that when you tap out of you and tap into the power of faith in and through the power of God through Jesus Christ, if you've accepted him as your Lord and your Savior, your healing is in that. Your breakthrough is in that. Your purpose is in that. Your freedom is in that. And you too can live that better life, as Maria has so eloquently stated. And I want to also incorporate this, because sometimes people think that, okay, well, your family, so you may have coerced her, or you may have coached her to say these things, but I'm here to interview her as her own person, telling us what she has done individually, not what mom and dad told her to do or have forced her to do, but what she has seen and known for herself, implemented for herself, and seen the result for herself. So I'm here to tell you today that you have to have a personal relationship with God. The relationship of your parents, or even your prayer partner, your pastors, leaders, or those in your community is not going to be enough to get you to your place of living life from the inside out, living life on purpose. You have to have a personal relationship with the power to believe for the solution, the power to believe for the breakthrough instead of the breakdown. So with that being said, and I thank you for sharing what you personally did, now I want you to tell the audience that there is something that drastically changed inside of your life in the year 2017 when you were only 14 years old. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened in 2017 and what that led to in the sense of your physical state of being in your health?
So the stuff that drastically changed in 2017 was because the years leading to 2017, I mostly dealt with allergies and environmental allergies. So just me staying away from things I'm allergic to, or just reading everything before I eat, and just staying out of grass, staying out from outside. But this changed drastically because then I start having physical pain in my body, where I had hardness to weakness in my legs, very hard to walk. I couldn't go upstairs. I start feeling weak everywhere, which wasn't normal for me because I mostly just went through allergies and environmental things and mostly just being itchy. So that's what drastically changed. And then that's when I was diagnosed with lupus. And that's when I started.
So let's unpack that, what you just said, that you were diagnosed with lupus. And for many of you who don't know Maria's story, that this drastic changes that start to occur inside of her body that led her to a hospitalization stay of 2.5 weeks in the hospital, that led her to have an ICU stay because her body temperature went so low that she was experiencing hypothermia, so they had to rush her to ICU. At this point, they didn't know what was happening with her. They couldn't pinpoint it. They couldn't get down to the bottom of it. They literally sent every specialist that they had inside of the hospital to run tests to try to, quote unquote, rule things out or rule things in according to, their medical procedures. And it wasn't until probably like a week inside of it, a couple of days inside of her being in ICU, that they sent in a rheumatologist that did an ANA test that was able to see, that she had very high levels. And then that's when she gave her the diagnosis of lupus, LSC, and muscle weakness. But even throughout that, and even with that state, because of the things that was happening inside of your body so rapidly, and with them not being able to figure it out or give you the proper treatment because they didn't know what they needed to treat, you don't even fully remember that state because they had her on such high dosages of morphine and different things just to keep her down. She was in ICU, so they had all types of IVs that they were giving unto her that really sedated her, that she didn't even know what was happening around her. And so the reason why I bring that up is because for most people, when they go through something so drastically that changes the course of their world, instead of them looking at life through the cup being half full, they begin to look at the life with the cup half empty. And now they start thinking, oh, woe is me, and now my life is never going to be the same, because this diagnosis that they gave was considered a incurable disease to your body, which means there is no solution. There is no finality of you do this and you never have to worry about this again. So literally they gave her a lifetime sentence of sickness and illness, to the point that they said, take this information down so that you will know exactly when to come every single time that you have what is considered a flare-up. So they gave us no hope, no light at the end of the tunnel. They literally said, this is your new normal. You're going to live a life of pain. We can help you to do what is called pain management and to help reduce what you're feeling, but we can't take this away. So you're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. And this is the significance of why I wanted to have this pain into purpose conversation, because there are many of you out there listening that you may not have a incurable disease diagnosis. You may have been given a diagnosis of your value or your worth was not enough, and that you're never going to mount up to anything in life, that people have judged you according to where you come from or your educational level of the mistakes that you have made, and they have given you a lifetime sickness or a diagnosis of incurable disease that you can't get to your place of better. But I'm here to tell you today, even as Maria's sitting here, even from that first hospitalization stay, that they was declaring that she had all these different variations of disease going on inside of her body, and how this was going to be her new normal, and basically the hospital was going to be her second home, and that she basically need to go and make preparations to make her life begin to form around the diagnosis, and opposed to how she can look at living life or making life the best of life. And many of you have done that. You have succumbed to the diagnosis. You have succumbed to the identity that other people have placed upon you, or the labels that people have placed upon you. But I'm here to let you know that you are more than what you have gone through. You are more than a diagnosis that has been given unto you. You are more than even generational cycles that have been repetitive, that even you may have partaken inside of. You can be that game changer. You can be that generational cycle breaker. You can be the one to say that I'm going to live my life better and not bitter. And that's the very thing that you were able to do. Even though, again, you didn't even have full coherence during that. I had to step in as your advocate to be able to hear and understand what this thing was. We literally was so unfamiliar. We didn't even know what lupus was. So I had to go and do all the research and studying to even figure out what is this. But even through all of that, there's something awesome that you said, even when it comes to sickness or pain, that you may have it, but
pain or sickness doesn't have you.
And that's the key thing. Even through that, her coming out of that, not fully understanding even what happened to her, she came out of it with the mindset that I'm not going to allow this to limit my life, to stop, block, or hinder me from living my better life. So from you coming home from that first hospitalization stay, what was the very thing that you implemented without the doctors leading or saying anything? What was the things that you came home and you wanted to do so that you can live the healthiest life as possible?
That's when I decided to change my diet and become vegan, because I realized that I needed to do a healthier, or I wanted to become healthier, because food is a big part of your life.
Yes, and what many of you guys don't know, not only is food a big part of your life, but Maria had so many allergies in the sense to when it comes to food that many of us just take for granted. Things like soy, things like wheat, things like dairy, things like nut, things like gluten. None of those things agreed with her system. So she made the decision to eliminate all of these things that could be potentially toxic and harmful to her living her better life inside of her health. And again, she was only 14 years old. This was not the leading of the doctors, leading of us as family members or adults inside of her life, but she made a decision that I want to live the most whole and the most healthiest life that is possible for me. So I want to make the decision to go plant-based so that I can live in and through and from the earth, so that I can maximize my body's health, especially with this diagnosis that again that was given unto her, but she never took it on as her identity. Again, they may have said that she had lupus, but she always operated that lupus didn't have her. And I want you to be encouraged to know too, whatever it is that you have been given, whether through mistaken identity, whether it is an actual diagnosis, that you don't have to succumb to that to say this is the end of my life or this is just how life is going to be, but that you can come out on the other side of whatever it is that might have held you bondage, that has made you stuck, that may have altered or changed, the course of your life, the same way that Maria was able to do. And so after that, you incorporated plant-based living inside of your life. And then also with that, we were so astounded by her making that decision and staying the course. She was devout to it. Like every single thing she's checking on labels, she's like, wait, we're not even checking out before I check these labels to check off, is this out, is that out, is that out. We were so, astounded by that decision that we made a vow that as a family, her immediate family, that we were going to join alongside her and go vegan too. Why? Because it wasn't just about her doing this because of a diagnosis. She did this to have a better life. And so we said, you know what? We want a better life too. And so we need to eliminate things that are not, the best food choices, or that won't serve our body in the long term, or that could possibly lead to ailments down in the future. So we came alongside of her, some more reluctant than others, but everybody made the vow that we're going to do this and we're going to do this together. And so here it is, 6 years later, and we are still vegan. So that speaks volumes, number one, of the power of a changed mind and the power of influence for better. And so instead of you talking about, oh mom, how are we going to make it? Oh dad, how I'm going to live my life? I'm just a teenager. I'm not going to be able to do this or that. You's like, no. Okay, here's the game plan. I want to be better, so I got to do better. You incorporate it, and still to this day, you are still following suit, and you still are devout. Your dad likes to call you even the vegan police. You're policing, making sure every single thing that we eat is as nutritious as it can be for us to live our better life. So I do want to personally thank you for that, because even before you became vegan, I was vegetarian, but there were still items that I was partaking in that I had no idea, that could further down the line cause me, ailments inside of my body, in the sense of not disease or sickness, but just not me functioning at my best or at my maximum potential. So I want to thank you as my daughter for you being led even by God to make that decision that has made all of us healthy. And that's another interjection I want to give out to everybody. Never put yourself in a position, especially as a parent, of the end all, the know all, the be all. Every single person in this life has a purpose and they have value. And you are never in a position where you can't hear or be led in a certain or specific area, even by someone who may be younger than you or someone who may even be your child. I'm literally thankful to my child who helped us change our dietary intake so that we can be healthy at only the age of 14. We never came and said, well, we're your parents and we got to tell you. No, we understood that God was using her to help us to live a better life. And so I'm humble enough to say thank you for helping us to make that decision and not feeling like, our relationship is a greater than, lesser than. Why? Because even as parents, we're called to be stewards over our children, to lead, guide, and direct them in the right way, and then to give them the opportunity to be able to live and walk that out. And you've been able to do just that. So I thank you for your wisdom and your guidance in all things health related, and even for you to be here to tell your story today. So now that we've got gave an overview of some of the things that she went through, it didn't stop there. So that was a big life changer for us. But even I think about 3 years later in 2020, She was re-hospitalized in the height of the pandemic, where the whole world was changing. We hadn't even gotten to a new norm. We were literally still in the midst of a pandemonium of what to do, how to do. Do we do this or do we do that? Is it this protocol or that protocol? Do we come together? Do we social distance? So in the height of all of that, she was hospitalized for a 2.5-month stay, where she had, they said that they gave the diagnosis of lupus nephritis and several other things, where this caused for her to go through, various different treatments, because they just couldn't get down to the bottom of what was happening. She went through a 30-pound fluid retention gain in that time period. She had brain, gut, and heart inflammation. They had to run several genetic tests to see if there's something that they was missing that was genealogy, through her genealogy, or that was a mutation inside of her body. She had to go through 6 different blood transfusions, a platelet infusion, kidney biopsy. They thought they might have to do a blood platelet biopsy or replacement. It was so many variations that it was so hard to keep up, that I literally had to put myself back into medical school to even wrap my hand around all of these large words that they was using, these treatments that they were giving, to be able to understand what the treatments were, with the side effects. And I want you guys to see, this is how much information that I had to retain of just the different things that they were saying that she had. And we came up with the idea that we're not going to allow this to get the best of us, but we're going to declare that this journey that we was going through in the midst of the pandemic, there was so much chaos, if you will, inside of the hospital, because every day things were changing. Everything was being shut down internally. You couldn't go here, you couldn't go that. There are only so many people can be in one place at a time, or none at all. So we decided to call what you went through Maria's medical mission, because she went through so much. Instead of it getting the best of us, we said, you know what, we're going to learn what they're talking about, and we're going to make the best of this, even through the various treatments that again had you in states where it might have made you tired, might have made you nauseous, might have made you weak. She had to go through several rounds of chemotherapies, several rounds of the highest dosages of steroids, eculizumab, which is another form of steroids, so many, even in where they had to put her ovaries to sleep so that the treatments wouldn't damage her ability to reproduce. So when I tell you, we literally saw, I believe 11 or 12 specialists, all the way down even to physical therapy that you had to go through 5 days a week. So we saw, I want to say, almost every ologist inside of the hospital to get down to what they thought would be the issue and the best way to treat it. And so we had to go back to school and learn all of these different things. And before, they're so quick to just give you something in medical terminology and just say, here, sign on the dotted line so that we can go ahead and incorporate this. But we were like, no, we need to see what are the risks and rewards, because that's the biggest thing in the medical field, risk and reward. Well, what is this going to do to her body? What are some of the side effects? So we were already in a changed world, and then we were in a changed world on top of that, because they couldn't find out what was happening. And in the midst of that, you can feel the energy of what people were facing. There were actual healthcare workers, from the nurses and the doctors, that were separated from their children, that was separated from their family, so that anything that they could have been exposed to in the hospital, that they wouldn't bring that back to their families. There was so much sadness. There was so much heaviness of hearts, because there was so much happening around that people didn't have the answers to. And even in the midst of that, there were several things that we were able to put into place during that stay, and that not only transformed our lives, but every person that walked into our room, they were able to feel, whether they knew it or not, the peace of God. Because I'm telling you, this was enough information that even the doctor says, I know it's too hard to keep up with. We barely know. So we got to use the generic name sometimes, so that we don't get caught up in, giving out all the medical terminology, because it is a lot to maintain. And so the key thing is that we understood that, like you said, that they may say you have this, but you never let it have you. Even in the midst of you going through these different variations of changes inside of your bodies, of weakness, of when you went and you end up not even being able to walk because of so much fluid retention, so much inflammation in several parts of your body. But there were three things that you were able to implement. You talked about it earlier, but this time you was able to implement it in a way that it affected every person that walked through the door. And can you tell them a little bit about those things that you incorporated into your daily life inside of your hospitalization stay?
The thing I was able to implement during this time was positive affirmations, because the doctors kept adding more and more time, saying they don't know when we will be able to leave, what is happening. They didn't know what was going on. So I focused on positive affirmations, and I focused on seeing my future at home. So I kept saying that it is God's will for me to be healed, and I focused on being home and not here in the hospital at the time. And even all the affirmations, sermons we were listening to in the hospital room, that energy was put into the room, where even doctors, when they came into the room, they were like, we feel peace in here. They just wanted to stay, because they're like, everything is too much, and during this time, and in all these other medical problems with other people, they're like, we just need time to calm down, and your room is very peaceful. So we were able to bring peace to the hospital during this hard time by our words, our actions, and us just listening to sermons and bringing all of that with us to share the love and light through to other people during this hard time.
And I want to encourage those who are listening, because so many people say, but you just don't know how hard it is. You don't know my situation. You don't know what I'm going through. But I'm here to tell you that whatever it is that you focus on the most, that's the very thing that's going to expand in your life, and that you're going to see made manifest inside of your life. So she made a bold declaration to focus on the solution and not the problem, because the problem was frustrating. Why? Because nobody had the full answers or solutions, or even the time frame in which to do it in. And she was so determined that I'm not going to get caught up in what they're saying. I'm going to get caught up in what I'm saying, and what I'm going to say is going to be my healing. What I'm going to say is me being home. What I'm going to say is me making a difference and an impact into the lives of others. So literally inside of that hospitalization period, you were able to do two things. Number one, you kept declaring we're going to be home for the holiday, because we were right at the brink of Thanksgiving. Matter of fact, we were let out 2 days, or even a day and a half right before Thanksgiving. But we declared it. Not only did we declare, but we start putting it into motion by doing two things. You created a cookbook through, again, her plant-based business, to say, not only do I want to be healthy, but I want to show other people how they can be healthy even in the holiday times, so that they don't have to put on all that extra butter and slather on. You guys know how you like it the holidays. It's your cheat time. But she said, you know what? I'm going to take this time to write out, how people can live healthy. And then also we put together how you can give back. One of the places that did stay open in the pandemic, because they closed down activity rooms and places that the children were supposed to go to have some type of relief. So literally they made you stay inside of your rooms because of the protocol. And so you guys don't know, when you're just in the confines of 4 walls on a continual basis with no hope of a time frame of you being able to get out of there, that can truly begin to play on your psyche and your mind. Even if you do have faith, even if you do believe, it can wear down on your belief system. But the thing that we found ourselves to do, even at times you couldn't walk, we were wheelchair there. We would go to the chapel, and what do we do inside of the chapel?
When we went to the chapel, we would pray over other children in the hospital to bring healing and peace of mind to their families during this time, so they can all get through this time peacefully and
feel the love of God.
Feel the love of God during this hard time of not knowing when this pandemic was going to even end at the time. Yes.
And, and again, the importance of that is because, we prescribe to a belief that what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. And so even though she was literally still in physical pain, she made her way to the chapel to pray for other children who were going through, and even other families who were going through. And so it wasn't about, God, when am I going to get my breakthrough, my healing? When am I going to get out of here? She put her focus on other people and say, you know what? I'm not the only one in this situation. situation. So let me not just focus in on what I'm going through, but let me be a solution to even somebody else's problem. Even though they may never know I prayed for them, they may never know my name, but it's my act of love and kindness through the power of God within me that will cause me to be focused on something else or someone else that's going to make a difference and an impact. And so the second part of that, because we were now at the holiday times, the second part of that was the outreach aspect, that you had a heart to be able to give back to those that you knew that eventually you would get out of there, but you said, you know what, when I get out, there's still going to be children left in here, so I want to bring hope and help to them. So tell me what came out of that.
I decided to turn my pain into purpose by creating a foundation to give back to children who are still in the hospital, who are even there longer than I was, and who don't know the love of God and know that there's still hope for them, and they don't see their future at home or so, because they're just hearing what the doctors are telling them, when even doctors who are sometimes unsure of what is going on. So by doing that, we are showing the love of God by giving back to children who are still in the hospital to this day, even at the same exact location that I started at.
That's so significant, because if you don't turn your pain into purpose, you can never be in a position to go back to bring others out. And every single thing that you have ever faced or experienced is an opportunity for you to be the light to someone who's still in the midst of darkness, for you to be the hope to someone who may feel hopeless, for you to be the help to someone who may feel helpless. And I'm here to tell you again, it is not too late for you to be great. It's not too late for you to turn your pain into purpose. Maria is sitting here today with a story for God's glory, to show you that she was not going to let these various health challenges and diagnoses be the end all or the sum total of her life. But her mindset was always on, how do I use this to make a difference and an impact and to give back? And that leads me to the last thing, which I'm just so grateful and thankful that again that I have the opportunity to interview on your B-Day. But on your B-Day, again, we're very big on using our birthdays. We call it our birthdays, because we understand that even as my late grandfather and her late great-great-grandfather would say, your birth on earth has worth. So we are very big on either on our set birthdays or around our birthdays now, and using that time frame to literally birth forth something, either business-wise, outreach-wise, or being able to go back and make a difference or impact into the lives of others, because we understand the value of life and we want to use our life to be able to give back to others. So that leads us to how you're able to turn the sum total of everything that you went through, which is a lot. We just gave y'all a snippet of what she experienced, because we don't even want to focus on the fullness of the pain, but we want you to know that there was a long bout of pain that wasn't just painful for her, but even as her family. You know, you never want to see your child hurting or in pain, or seeing your child have to go through, various sicknesses or things that will, cause them to be set aside or not have to do things the way other children are doing or living their lives. But we always made lemonade out of lemons. We always put that sugar on what would be bitter. We always said that your life is better and doesn't have to be bitter. So it leads us to now, which on your birthday, that you said that I want to use my life to be able to tell my story for God's glory in the format of a memoir book, to show people how they too don't have to be stuck inside of a lifetime diagnosis of an incurable disease. That doesn't matter if it's mentally, it doesn't matter if it's mistaken identity, that someone told you that you was worthless, you're never going to be anything. It doesn't matter if it's a physical ailment, whatever that sentence has been given unto you, you don't have to fulfill it. You can turn your pain into purpose. You can turn your trauma into triumph. You can turn your weeping into reaping. And Maria's a firm and a sure example to show you that just now turning 19 in your life, most people say it's just beginning. Matter of fact, there used to be a saying that you still wet behind the ears. You don't even know what life is. But I want to commend you, because even in this short span of your life, you are able to make the best of it, and that and also to utilize it to give back to people. And it's not about your name, it's not about people knowing who you are per se, but it's about the acts of you making your life make a difference and an impact that nobody will ever be able to refute, or the world will never be able to erase. So that brings me to the finale of this interview and conversation, that she was able to take to pen and write down her life story, and then also how she went through all of these various illnesses and diagnoses, and how she was able to turn her pain into purpose with her memoir book that is she's releasing on today, her birthday. So that is her 19th year birthday present to self and even to the world, to bring hope, help, and inspiration, to let people know that you can rise up. So can you just give us a quick overview of this book, as you guys see here? So you want to go and get your copy so you know how you too can rise up above your various levels of pain and live the better life that God has in store for you. So just tell us a quick overview about this book, Rise Up, and how it's going to inspire others.
So a quick overview of my book, Rise Up, is about me turning my pain into purpose by showing my life story that I went through my whole life, and then showing that it doesn't have to just be that. I decided that I'm not going to dwell in the pain and the diagnosis that the doctors gave to me, and that I'm going to turn my pain into purpose and choose to do better and bring more awareness to
the world in general.
To the world, yes.
And you're doing that through, I want you to just give them a synopsis of the 3 ways that you're doing that through the foundation. Tell them a little bit about the foundation again, and how that's making a difference in the lives of others.
The way I was able to turn my pain into purpose by creating my foundation that's giving back. And then I was able to create my vegan line to show how you can be healthier.
And last but not least,
and then my book that was able to show you how to bring pain into purpose.
And not only have you brought pain into purpose, but now it has empowered you. This is a thing that actually brings you joy, and that you actually like to do, that you don't feel that you're just forced to make these decisions, as most people say, oh, you're 18, what are you going to do with your life? What school are you going to go to? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? And most people do things automatically or robotically and not according to their life's purpose. But you've had the great advantage to start at the pinnacle of your life, to live life on purpose, and to be able to live your life in a format that's given back to others. So I want you to speak hope to those who are listening, and tell them how they can do also what you're able to do in just the short 18 years of life that you were on this earth.
It's all about mindset and your words, using your words to bring purpose into your life. And it's about not dwelling in your pain, but speaking life into your future. So there was times where I felt so sick, and I could have just been like, oh, I just won't do anything. I'm just focused on the bad things that are happening. But I chose to speak about healing. So I was like, thank you, God, for my healing. Thank you for giving me the strength for this day. So it's all about your mindset and your words that you speak.
I couldn't have said it any better. I want you guys to continue to keep Maria Faith inside of your prayers. And I want to encourage each and every one of you out there today that there is life that is still inside of you, that is awaiting to be birthed forth, so that you too can rise up. We want you to stay connected with Maria Faith and what she's doing, because she's literally just at the beginning of the stages of giving back, and what we like to call being blessed to be a blessing. So we want you to be encouraged to know that it's not too late. Life is not over. You're not the sum total of the mistakes, the failures, or even the pain that you've experienced inside of your life. And you too can rise up above any variations of pain. And it is time for you to live life on purpose. It is time for you to experience your reaping instead of weeping. It is time for you to live in triumph and not in trauma. And last but not least, it is time for you to live in purpose over your pain. So I'm going to pray with you all today, and I want you to be encouraged encouraged. I want you to be excited and even inspired to know that it's your time to step out. It's your time to go forth. It's your time to give your life story for God's glory, to bring others into their place of better by seeing his love and his hope and his manifestation of better in and through you. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for every listener that is out there today. We thank you for those who are tuning in that may have been in high variations of pain, that may have felt like life was over, or that this is all that they're going to get out of life. I'm here to let them know that there is more that God has in store for them, and they don't have to dwell, they don't have to live, they don't even have to focus on the pain, they don't have to focus on what happened yesterday, that you've given them a fresh new day with a fresh new opportunity to focus on their purpose. I thank you right now that, Father, peace will come upon the mind of all listeners, that they will see that even through Maria's story and her life, that you are still a God that is awaiting to perform miracles. You are still a God that wants to give peace and hope and joy. You are still a God that wants to bring forth manifestation of the things that come in and through you inside of our lives, so that, Father, we can be the salt of the world and we can be the light to the world in the midst of the dim and the grim and the darkness that we're seeing all around. Father, I thank you right now for the transformation and the turnaround that these who are listening are going to experience inside of their lives, as they too turn their pain into purpose and use their story for your glory. Father, I declare that they too shall rise up and be all that you have predestined, predetermined, and pre-qualified for them to do, be, have, and to become here on this earth. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you all for tuning in on today. Again, we want you to stay connected with Maria. We want you to go to her site, Maria Faith Foundation, and see the difference that she's making and how she has chosen to rise up and to be blessed, to be a blessing. Thank you for tuning in.